Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel and in this series. So far in our series, we have created this project management application where with an integration with Gitlab, we are able to pull in tickets based on projects. We are able to pull in their comments and even we have our own time tracking system along with deliveries and estimate. Now, today in this video, what I'm going to do is based on the delivery and the estimates that we have already created, what I want to do is when hours are added to an estimate. So for example, if I go to my project and one particular ticket, I can see it is attached to a time entry feature estimate. And if I add an hour to it, for example, 60. Let me first go to the estimate page so that I am able to show you. So let's say in here I have this MVP. MVP estimated hours is not there right now. I haven't added it. So this is my delivery called MVP and I have estimates for that delivery where I have my time entry feature. Now I can see that I have a progress of 67% because I have an estimate of 1 hour completed 0.67. So if I add more hours to it, this percentage should change. So let's see if that is working. So I add this, maybe I'll add 30, hit save. Now, if I go to my estimate list, I can see that thing updating. So now I have consumed 117% of the total estimate, which is basically showing that I have gone beyond the estimated hours. And in my delivery, also, I can see that change. It does say that overall on this MVP, I have completed 1.17 hours. And this is what we are going to see how this can be built in this video. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. For example, I can use simple events. So whenever a time entry is added, I can raise an event and then I can do those calculations. However, in this particular case, I wanted to explore model observers, and so this entire functionality is done using the model observers. However, as I said, events can also be raised and there's nothing wrong with that approach as well. So without wasting much time, let's get started. Alright, where do we start? So first of all, one small little change that I would like to make is when I was doing this feature, I realized I made a mistake with my migrations because the migrations need to be supporting decimal points. However, my migrations were not doing that. So if I show you the delivery table, I have unsigned integer for these, especially for the estimated and completed hour that was not making sense. So I had to change that. Same goes for estimate table. So let us quickly make those changes. I will make them float. All right. So I have made those changes in here. Now these fields are float and they will go up to precision level 2. I will make that change on my delivery table as well. All right. These changes are now made and I can close these files. One point to note, what I did right now is possible because I haven't gone to production. I'm still in development mode. However, in situations where you have gone live with your application, when you have already when you have executed your migration once, right, and you have data in that table, you don't get the liberty to do these kind of changes. You're not supposed to modify the existing migration. What you need to do is create a new migration where you are changing the columns. So this is a word of caution because I was in the situation where I could do that. I made that change, but obviously, yes, if you have already executed the migration and you have data, you can't do that. If you don't have data, you can roll back. All right. Now, let me go to our time entry service test and understand what all tests do we have. So there are tests around it makes an time entry with the entry. Fine. This is starts an entry with correct data. So this is all around the tracker. But what we need is a test that, let's just say, when we call the service and the service has a method which will update the estimate and the delivery, if a data is passed where the issue is not present, right? We are talking about edge case, it should return false. So returns false when the issue is not present. This is the if condition that I will check. I'll show you why I'm saying that. Time entry service. Oh, by the way, I'll also need to make one small change. I just realized this cannot be int anymore because I'm storing this in my database, right? So I will have to change that. So I'll do float, and what I will do over here is use the round method and say that, do a division of minutes by 60, and then whatever is the result, return rounding it to a precision of 2. So it will round off. So for example, if I have 1.167, then the 67 becomes 7. That's the rounding, and I will get a precision of 2. So as I said, 1.67, or rather 1.167, right? It will be rounded to 2. So it needs to have two numbers, but because this is 5 or more, this 6 becomes 7. And again, in this level of decimal with hours and minutes, right, I'm not very concerned about that 1 point. All right. Now, into our main business logic, which is how do we handle the update, estimate, and delivery functionality of us. So why don't we make a function inside our service called updates, estimate, and delivery. I started the class in the wrong place. Let me correct that. What I'm expecting over here is a time entry. Okay, this is the model that I will receive. But then the question may come, how are we getting that? Well, that's where the observer will come into place. But why don't we first write our test for the service? Because we know what we need to do inside our service. And what we are testing is that it returns false when the issue is not present, right? So if I do issue.find time entry.issue ID, and if I don't find this, I return false. So this function should not do anything if it is not able to find the issue, because the time entry, if it is not mapped to an issue, what is the point of updating an estimate and a delivery, because I can't find it. So I guess with this we can write our tests. Unfortunately, I wrote the code first instead of a TDD approach, but that's fine. I will write it now. Time entry equals time entry. Now this is make because I just want the data, but I don't actually want the estimate to be present. So I'm doing a make instead of a create, because I know that otherwise the estimate will be created. If I show you the issue factory, right, estimate ID is estimate factory. So if I do a create, it will create the estimate entry as well, which I don't want to do. Now service, I create an instance, and then I expect should be to be false, right? So let's see if this is giving us a green, and it does. In the service, I'm checking for issue, but if that issue is not mapped to an estimate, then also I should return a false. So the test case will be something like, so again, I create a time entry. I'll do a create this time, but I need to do for issue. So this time I have an issue, but when I do the um, not the create, but in here I will do the estimate ID is null, which means I'm creating an issue which is not mapped to an estimate. That's how it will return false, because the time entry is not mapped to an estimate. Okay, that's the basic expectation. So I'll just copy this. And now I can again assert the same thing. Now this will return false, or it will fail because I haven't added that code, that condition over here. So let's do that. So I'm checking that if the issue is not present, or that my issue estimate is not available. So if it is not an issue, or if the estimate ID is not available, it returns a false. So this time this particular test will pass. So we have two tests talking about the boundary conditions, right? Now let's look at the actual implementation. But actually, before that, it is quite possible that I'll have a situation. I'm kind of thinking loud over here. I can have a situation where, do I need to check for the delivery? Maybe not. I'll just skip that for now. So the next thing will be that it updates the delivery and estimate completed hours. All right. Now, in this particular case, what I will do is I'm I'm going to raise events. So first of all, observers are also working with that same methodology. So I'll have an event fake, and after the event fake, I will make that change, and I'll show you why that event fake is required. Okay. Or actually, it will be difficult right now, so I'll explain you initially. So what happens is, when I put the observer, that observer will listen to model events. Okay. And if I then use factory method to create models, it is going to fire those events as well. And I don't want the events to be triggered at this point. Okay. I only want them when I'm hitting the controller and making those stuff. So I'll basically fake the event so that the events are not being carried over here. So I need a delivery based on my factory. So I'll just do that. So I'm creating a delivery where is complete is 0, estimated hours is 1, progress and completed is 0. What I want to do is maybe add half an hour to it and expect that my progress completed is 50% and this is completed is 0.5, something around that line, right? So let's see if we can do that. Now, apart from the delivery, we will need the estimate as well. So I'll just steal this code a little bit. These are going to be very similar. The only difference is I'll add so is complete is not required. I'll add the delivery ID. Okay. So this is mapped to this delivery, which should be required. And then I'll have an issue where the estimated estimate ID is this estimate that we just created. So this issue is related to this estimate, which is related to this delivery. Now with that in place, I will get my service instance, and I will call that function, oops, update delivery, and I need to create a time entry. So maybe I'll just do that as well, time entry, because I haven't created that and I need to send that as well. Time is 30. Did it give it in my autocomplete? Yeah. Okay, so I was a bit worried why that happened. Issue ID is issue.id. Close this with a semicolon, and in here pass this. So with this in place, let's assert certain things in our database. Assert database has inside estimates, my where condition will be that the ID is going to be estimate ID, which is this one. Okay, and my where conditions are going to be my estimated hours is 1, completed hours is 0.5. Okay, so estimate needs to change. Obviously this is going to fail. So now the question is, how do we create the basic functionality? For that we will need the observer. So how do we create an observer? Let me see if this allows me. Yes, it does. I will have two methods in there. I will have the name being time entry observer class name, and observer class. What does that mean? Okay, I don't know. I'll do created. Creating is before making the entry, and I don't want that. I want created, which means after the entry is made or once it is saved, and then I have updated. I will have this too. Didn't create the method. That's a bit weird. Okay, I'll just add them. Created. Okay, I know that I'll get the model, the time entry model. It's going to return void, and what I will do is first have the second one as well over here. Now inside the model I can call the service, but I want this to be a job. Okay, so that it doesn't run in sync, it can happen separate. So I'll just create a job for that. The job will be time entry updated, and I'll change this to, actually, yeah, where is the rename? Time entry update job. Yes, please. Okay, in here I'll have private read only time entry $time entry. Okay, the reason is, what I'm expecting is when I dispatch the job, I send that thing, and in the handle method I'll do time entry service, and in here time entry service update estimate blah 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 this dot time entry. So what am I doing over here? Let's quickly understand. I will dispatch this job, which is queuable, so it will not run on sync. Okay, and in the handle I'm injecting the time entry service, so I will call this function which we just created inside the job. And in the observer, the only two lines that I need to write are time entry update job dispatch dollar entry. Okay. And with that, ideally, this thing should work. The only thing right now is there's no relation between this time entry observer and the time entry model. And that is something which we need to do. Because otherwise, how will Laravel understand that that observer class is supposed to act on certain thing? Okay, so how do we do that? Small little change. What I do over here is I add an attribute. Okay, observed by, this is an attribute, and I can say that time entry observer class. Right. So what have we done? In this model, I am adding this attribute which tells Laravel that some of the events which this model will raise on certain events. For example, in our case, when the model is created or when the model is updated, it will raise certain events and this observer is going to listen to them. And that's how Laravel understands that when those events are fired, for example, when the model is created or when the model is updated, I come to this observer and see what needs to be done. So one good approach of observer, or rather, I won't say good approach, but rather one reason to use observer is that when you are kind of dependent on the core events of a model, I think the observer makes sense. But if if it is some event like a user login, I know it's a very common example, but if it is a user login, I don't think it belongs in the user model, because user login is not really a model event. So that's where I think a typical event is required. Anyways, so yeah, inside our service now we need to actually write our implementation. We haven't done that. We have written an observer, we created the job, we did a lot of things, but we haven't written our service code. So let's quickly now add that. So I'll go a little fast over here. What I need to do is first get the estimate. So over here, I made a query to the estimate table with the issues estimate ID, and then I did a delivery call with the estimates delivery ID. And in any of the condition, if I don't find them, I'm again returning a false. This video is getting a bit big, so I will write those test cases. I have already done for this particular condition. They are going to be very similar, so I can assert that. But now I'm going to do the happy path. I'll need to get the time. Yeah, I saw that hint showing int, so I figured out that it's a mistake. Okay. This was the estimate. This is my time based on the time entry. Okay. So now this is our time entry, right? So we get the time, we convert it into hours, and we add to the completed hours. Now we also update the percentage. However, we only do that when our estimated hours are more than 0. That's an edge case which I understand can happen, that if I haven't done the estimations and I'm just tracking my time, this can become a problem. Okay, so I'm just trying to avoid a division by 0. So I'm saying If it is greater than 0, then the progress percentage is a round of the estimates completed hours by the estimated hours into 100 and then comma 2. Yep, that's about it. With this done, we can save the estimate. Okay. And similarly, I can do this for the delivery. So I have delivery completed hours equals delivery completed plus the time. Now that's what I want to add. And then if delivery, yeah, I need to add that comment in here as well. So yeah, if delivery progress complete, delivery estimated hours is greater than 0, then I calculate the complete and I save and then I return true. So let's see if now our tests are passing. Ideally it should. Okay, it doesn't. Named progress complete. Is it completed? It should be completed. So it says estimates has no column. Oh, okay, it's completed hours. I'm so sorry. Let me quickly look at the estimate table. Did I make a mistake? Completed hours, estimated hours, progress percentage. Okay. Over here, completed hours, estimated hours, progress completed. So that was my, okay, sorry, that was my estimates table. The delivery table is progress complete. Okay. Progress completed. It should be progress completed. Let me okay, there can be a lot of replications, so this is progress complete. I'll keep it as is right now. I'll have to make a refactor there, but delivery model has progress complete. So then no such column, so which means in my service I have progress complete. Progress. It is progress completed. Oh, I'm looking at the um. This is delivery. All right. So the column name change has worked, and what I can now assert through this test case is that when I have an estimate of 1 hour, progress percentage 0, completed 0. When I make a time entry of half an hour, the estimated hours is still 1 and my completed hours is 0.5. The second assertion that I want to make is, I'll just copy this a bit. In my deliveries table, the delivery ID, estimated hours is 1 and completed hours is 1. So let's see. And yes, this passes. So this is how the model observer works. And as I had showed you in the demo, whenever based on these calculations, right, when a time entry is made, like if I have 60, I hit save. And now if I go to projects, I go to my estimates, the delivery now is 2.17 from 1.17 and the estimated hours and the completed hours are changing as well. By the way, there are certain issues over here. I can see that it is off track. So what has happened is the call span has gone for a toss. So I will do index of my estimates, right? And because there's a call span issue, what I can do is just add this, right? So now the completed is 2.17, progress is 217%, estimated hours is 1. That's why, that difference. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. I know it has been a bit long, but it was important to understand the concept of model observers, how they work, how we can test it. And yeah, that's about it. If you like this video, then do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.